Hello, we are back. I'm Nive Stefan, and I'm so glad to be here at Big Festival 2021. And here we have simultaneous translation in English and in Portuguese. So if you want to follow in a different language than the one you are listening to, just go to nimo.tv/bigfestival and choose the link with the right language. Se você está assistindo essa transmissão em inglês e gostaria de assistir em português, basta acessar nimo.tv/bigfestival e escolher o idioma de sua preferência. And not only speaking sessions at Big Festival, you can also discover new games and content in the exhibitors and publisher areas, win free gifts and coupons, and so much more. Just go to bigfestival.com.br and access the event map. And you can talk to us using the hashtags BigFestival2021 and Jogue no Big Festival. Let's watch TerraGenesis, the F2P publisher journey. Tilting Point Director of Business Development, Margaret Wallace, sits down with the Senior Product Manager, Hunter Buckley, to catalog the publisher journey of TerraGenesis. This 4-year partnership resulted in one person coding in his car, growing into a full team of engineers, designers, and marketing experts. Let's welcome Margaret Wallace, Director of Business Development, Tilting Point, Hunter Buckley, Senior Product Manager from Tilting Point. Please be our guest. The screen is yours. Hello.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Big Festival 2021. It's really great to see you and to be here. I'm really happy to be speaking with you today, along with Hunter, about TerraGenesis, because when Hunter and I knew we were going to be able to present at this festival, we thought TerraGenesis would be the perfect game to talk about, because it really illustrates how you can grow a game from a one-person studio to astronomical heights. Hi, Hunter, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, enjoying the office at the late hour.
Yeah. So Hunter, you've been working on TerraGenesis for a while, and you've seen it really grow and evolve. Can you please tell the audience basically what is TerraGenesis, the game? How does the game work?
Sure. So TerraGenesis is a science-based simulation game where you're attempting to terraform a planet, which is converted from Mars, from a barren wasteland, to Earth-like conditions to make it habitable for human habitation. And it was developed by Edgeworks Entertainment, which was one guy coding in the shotgun of his car while he took a vacation driving around New Zealand for 6 months, which is a fabulous story. And it was this small independent developer who didn't have any background really in game design or in game knowledge, which had this fantastic idea and new approach to it that hadn't been seen on the industry before. And it took off with fabulous results.
So Hunter, Tilting Point is a games publisher, and we both know that thousands of games are released in the app stores every single day. There are millions of games literally in apps in the app stores. How did Tilting Point discover TerraGenesis?
So we came across TerraGenesis originally because it won the big indie pitch, which was by Pocket Gamer back in 2017. And that brought it to the attention of Tilting Point, winning that festival. And we then took a look into the metrics on it, as much as we could tell via Sensor Tower and App Annie and other analytics tools. And digging in there and saw that it had pretty successful organic growth rate that was pretty phenomenal. And so we reached out to the developer and cold called him basically sat down and made him pitch. We talked back and forth to each other, and here we are 4 years later. Very successful, happy relationship.
Yeah, I really love playing the game myself. So when you say that Tilting Point took a closer look at TerraGenesis, we used, as you pointed out, analytics platforms like App Annie and Sensor Tower to look at the data. Can you please describe in greater detail the kind of data that makes a game interesting for a publisher? What are the telltale signs, at least initially, that point to, hey, this game has a lot of potential for growth?
I think that a lot of the potential is whether or not the audience is there. A lot of things you can fix. You can fix some monetization. You can fix the overall, you can fix a lot of UA aspects as well, target the right audience, target the right market, so on. But if there is that initial interest, that huge organic download ratio, that is very interesting to publishers, because it means you have hit on something that is resonating with people, and that will transcend into user acquisition as well. It'll transcend into a lot of these other aspects of the game. And if you have that audience, as long as you don't lose it, you will be able to hopefully monetize it and bring out those extra aspects over time.
So just to follow up quickly on that question, so like if we're looking at something like retention rates, how long does a player stick around to play the game after they download it? Like for a day one retention, for example, so how many players are going to be there after the first day of playing? Can you share like what might be a good metric to look for on that level?
Yeah, I can't go into too many specifics on at least TerraGenesis side, but in general terms, generally you want a fairly high or D1 retention. It varies on exactly how you're going to calculate the D1 retention, whether or not it's unbounded, 24-hour calendar, so on and so forth. Generally, if you're going generally upwards of, yeah, it also depends on the genre of game.
Yep.
So it can widely vary. For a more casual title, you want a higher D1 retention. For a more hardcore title that has a longer LTV tail, then you can deal with a lower D1 retention as long as you have that D30 plus monetization tail. So really every game is different in that aspect, but it sort of falls within tropes in the genres.
And it's really important for those of us who are putting games out there. We spend so much time developing a game, making it beautiful and polished. It's really important to get those early retention numbers working to a point where you're satisfied before you launch it to a wider audience base, wouldn't you say?
I don't know. Yes, I definitely think that retention is very important. Not saying you don't want to work very hard to deliver a finished product, but that is one aspect of one of the beautiful things about mobile games and live development, is that you continually have new users coming in. As long as you have a very healthy stream of users coming in, then you can iterate fairly, and you have the bandwidth on your team to be able to iterate fairly quickly, then you can adapt more on the fly. That's what we've done with TerraGenesis over time. We have a large install base to work off of, and so it allows us to focus on a lot of different aspects of the game and develop it over time.
That's really great insight to share. Thanks for that. So when Tilting Point was evaluating TerraGenesis, and again, I think it's a great example, what did you look at that you identified that you wanted to focus on to improve in terms of how the game was able to grow and scale? Can you provide examples of some of the things you looked at for, this is where we are now, this is where we believe we can take TerraGenesis in terms of growing those numbers?
So it's gone through different stages in the development of TerraGenesis, and which point we focused on different things throughout. So initially, it sort of mimics the general Tilting Point model as well. So in the early stages, we were very focused on user acquisition and ASO, on bringing new users into the game and allowing the developer to monetize and control the game as they wanted and their product. Overall, we, during that phase, increased overall installs and DAU by about 10%. Not 10%, that'd be small, 10x, so 1,000%, which is much larger. and ultimately saw great success working together as a partnership. And so we deepened the relationship and we worked together and bringing the game from iOS only, because originally it was only released on one platform, and developed in Xcode rather than Unity, and bringing it to Android as well. And once we got fully mobile, again, revenue just shot up, downloads shot up as the new audience embraced it. And at that point, we started to say, okay, we have a good working relationship together. We've done ASO, we've done user acquisition, we've done a platform port. Let's actually start talking about the game itself and aligning on where to take this game. And so this is the point where we aligned on more big areas to focus on and concern points, as you talked about. Mm-hmm. And here we had to align on a creative vision for the game as well, because there are a lot of things that TerraGenesis does that are not exactly conventional gaming wisdom, because it's very much targeted this science-based niche rather than a lot of the competition in the terraforming genre or the simulation genre overall. And so we needed to be conscious of that and make sure we were still true to that vision, as well as building up trust with the developer, because hey, we were coming in new people on the block saying, hey, we have all these cool ideas. He had built this game himself, so very close attachment to it. And so we said, okay, we'll start off small. We'll just rework the tutorial, because we saw that a lot of users were churning and focusing on the D1 retention, as we talked about earlier. And we saw through some small reworks and improvements in the overall UI UX, we saw a 33% increase in tutorial completion and similar large increase to D1 retention. At that point, we were able to move on to other key concern points, mainly the slow progression, that it's very difficult to progress or was very difficult to progress in TerraGenesis, even if you monetize to an extreme degree, because it's trying to take a realistic, slow approach to science. And so we just added the ability to fast forward in the game if you watch ads or certain amount of money, and you can then speed through. And that, again, we saw about a 15% increase in ARPDAU as a result. And we continued like this. As we built up trust, the Fatui rework was just reworking a flow. The fast forward rework, our new feature, was adding a button and advancing the simulation. So again, 2 lines of code, more or less. Then we worked up into larger features as we built up trust with the developer and built a stronger working relationship together. And so we identified that there were no real long-term chases in the game. The game isn't meant to be a D180 LTV tail. It's meant to be fairly short tail, but even so, it's good to see some extension beyond the short term. And so we introduced a governor system, which is a collectible characters who help influence your game and help you make progress. And something that you collect that exists outside of your planets. It's the only thing that you take with you between planets. And again, we saw a good ARPDAU increase. All the main ARPDAU increase from that feature came when we introduced the next feature, which was our limited time events. Here, we identified that there was no real pressure to actually complete planets, and we didn't have a clear content release strategy. And so we focused on introducing limited time events, which are time-pressured planets that you have to complete within 48 hours or a weekend. And you'll get large rewards for making progress in them. They tend to have different rewards than the main planets as well. And the governors became very crucial, both as the rewards for those planets and the way you make progress in them, because you have that time pressure and they're a system that helps you advance much faster. And so those two sort of went perfectly together. And so we saw, I think, about a 30% increase in ARPDAU over the course of just the first few events. And we've introduced and iterated upon that even further since.
I love the governor edition. It's one of my favorite features, just to put that out there. So that's extremely creative way to layer an feature on top of an existing game. And when you when we started embarking on all of these optimizations to TerraGenesis, what kinds of considerations came into play when we were balancing the needs and the desires and the player styles of existing players, and then also making it welcoming to new players? Like, how did those considerations come into play?
Yeah, I think that definitely comes into play when you're thinking about any feature you're doing. You have a target of who you want to actually interest in the feature and where the problems are that you want to address. For 2E rework, the tutorial rework is obviously not going to help end game players very much. They're not going to see much of a benefit from that. But when we focus on, say, the fast forward system, that's largely also meant for early game players who haven't gotten past the I don't know what to do, or there's a lot of different menus and options that they're slightly confused around, and helps them make much faster progress, as opposed to the users who stick around for 60 days who enjoy that slow pace. And it's an optional feature, so those long-term players don't have to worry about it. But when we get to something like limited time events, that's much more focused on the late game, because we're trying to extend the LTV tail there. And so we're focused on putting more pressure on long-term users at that point. And yeah, so it'll vary who we're targeting and with what.
And so at some point, tilting point, just to share with our viewers, our audience, at some point, we took over the development of TerraGenesis. And, we've also added more features that some of them we've already touched on. But there's one new feature that I think is a really awesome addition. It's been really phenomenal. And it's also has a pretty positive social impact. Hunter, can you share what that is now that I've built it up so well?
Yeah, of course. So the feature that you're obviously alluding to is our what we call the ecology feature, or the forest feature. So basically, in a nutshell, ecology is a subscription service online that we also work with and doing user acquisition with. And basically what it is, you pay a subscription fee each month, and they plant a certain number of trees in your name somewhere in the world. A lot of it's in Madagascar, Mozambique, these sorts of places, to help reforestation. And there are a whole bunch of things about climate and reforestation and climate change that it's supposed to help with. And we were looking for a new long tail feature to introduce to TerraGenesis, to have some sort of a extension of our LTV even further, as the first feature that we do after taking over development of it. And what we did was we noticed there's another thing in our funnel, our UA games, called Ecology. They were looking at ways for gamification. We were looking at new feature. And so we merged those two ideas together. And we introduced the Ecology feature, which is you do a certain number of actions in the game, and we will plant an actual tree for you via Ecology's API in the real world. And we'll display that to you in a little forest UI screen that we have in the game itself. And we've threaded these through our limited time events, through our in-app purchases, through our ad monetization, and a whole bunch of other ways. And so at the moment, we've planted 224,000 trees after 3 weeks, which is pretty phenomenal. At this rate, we'll have well eclipsed over 1 million trees by the end of the year. And yeah, it's seen huge increases in ARPDAU. Our players have really latched onto it and really enjoyed the whole feature.
So we have a question. I'm so excited. Thank you, audience, for asking questions. And I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. And the first one is, TerraGenesis is such a great idea, and we agree. How do you see games as a way to impact the way we see our planet?
Yeah, I think that's a very important thing that I've been thinking about, particularly over the past few months as we've worked on this feature. How to use games for increased social good, and how to increase that aspect. I think you can get people to engage with games in a different way than you can with other aspects. of reality. It's much different, much more engaging than just watching a TV show about something or seeing some infomercial or commercial saying, hey, you should donate to the pets, you should donate to XYZ. Here you are able to say, here, watch this short video, you'll plant a tree, and we'll give you some in-game benefit to enjoy the game that you're playing already, and sort of feeding into that loop. And then you build a more and more and more engagement with users. And TerraGenesis goes even beyond just the tree planting. We also have a lot of real science aspects to it and physics and backing. We frequently get reached out to about how people will integrate the TerraGenesis into their classrooms for teachers, and how they'll use it to teach their kids about other planets or terraforming concepts and what that means. And so I think you can do a lot with games as an educational tool and as a funnel for extra good as well.
Yeah, I was really having a lot of fun earlier today watching some of the video walkthroughs of TerraGenesis that are out there. And it's really fascinating the way players really get into the intricacies and really understand what it takes to create these ecosystems and to terraform as you know, the purpose of the game. You know, and I think the reason that Hunter and I found, first of all, we love TerraGenesis and we love what we do, but we also felt like it really illustrates the ways in which it's possible for game developers to work with a publisher like Tilting Point, specifically Tilting Point, because we progressively grow a game. You know, we start out, you know, where we kind of see if we like working with each other and see we can grow together. And then once that happens, you know, there are all sorts of possibilities that are open in terms of scaling a game. I mean, some of the numbers that Hunter was sharing were really impressive. You know, and there are other opportunities that are possible, you know, once we have a successful partnership. You know, we can take a game engine and integrate different kinds of brands and IP so it extends the life of the game. And there are also many other ways to make sure that as many people around the world as possible can get to play and experience your game. If you had to say where things are heading with TerraGenesis without giving away any secrets, can you give us any kind of clue where things are going, or a story about players that you can share, you know, that surprised you? Like I said, I was surprised when I saw the great YouTube videos earlier of players.
I think if we were going to say that how many times my players have surprised me, we'd be here all night. Yeah, they're continually surprising me, particularly in the limited time events, and how quickly they can figure out how to beat them as easily as possible. Frequently to my annoyance, as much as I love them. It's fun, me creating an event and then them figuring out in a few days how to beat it in 5 hours. And I'm like, okay, well, got to get a new one now, which is quite a bit of fun. But in terms of new features, there are a few different directions that we're going for, but a lot of things that are targeting similar levels of improvements that we've seen so far, and particularly around iterating off of our success of limited time events. I can say that much, and the ecology feature.
Okay,
to see how far we maximize the good that we've done.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's great. And I just been trying to squeeze in one final question. Do you have any tips for developers who want to create games to impact our world and society? You know, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say choose a cause and find a way to work with some sort of existing charity program. So you can do it on your own, but if you figure out some sort of existing charity, we were lucky. The ecology guys are very tech savvy. They're video game. They work in VR and mobile games, so they had a Unity plugin. But if they have any sort of tech that you can use like that, it makes it much easier to integrate rather than having to do calculations of, okay, we have this game, we have this concept. How do we actually get the money from us to you? How do we track all of that? it's much easier in that aspect. And the ideal, partnership is just where there's a fit between you and the actual cause and something you believe in.
Wow, Hunter, this has been a really great discussion. And, we make games, all of us here, and we can change the world and maybe other worlds in the case of TerraGenesis. I want to thank you, Hunter, and I want to thank the audience and the big festival. It's been a really great discussion.
It was amazing.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks ever so much, Margaret and Hunter. It was a pleasure to be here. And we come back in 5 minutes. See you soon. Hello, we are back at Big Festival 2021. I'm Nive Stefan, and I'm so glad to be here. And again, this session is in English, so if you want the translation in Portuguese, access the link here on the channel nimo.tv/bigfestival. Esse painel é em inglês. Se você quer assistir em português, basta acessar nimo.tv/bigfestival. And what about follow the coolest influencers, do business meeting, and so much more? Here, you can do it. Just go to bigfestival.com.br. You will also be able to ask questions in most sessions here through the chat or hashtags BigFestival2021 and Jogue no Big Festival. Now, introducing the best practices to grow your app in Asia. Shobi Shabiri has over 10 years of experience helping organizations with ad monetization and growth marketing business plans. He will highlight the top gaming markets in the region with case studies of many game titles, and also what to do and what not to do, in order to avoid many of typical pitfalls about compliance and logistical challenges. Let's welcome Shobir Shabiri, Senior Director of Business Development at Mintegral. Please feel free, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much, everybody. It's a pleasure to have you all here. Let's share the presentation now for you guys. I'm Shobir Shabiri, Senior Director of Business Development at Mintegral. It's an honor to be part of this big festival and hopefully someday come back to Brazil. I've been fortunate enough to be there for the World Cup. It was a beautiful country, experiencing that in 2014. Nice to see a couple of success stories, most recently with Wildlife becoming a unicorn from Brazil on a mobile gaming circuit. And I'm here to come and showcase, how to take your game on a global scale from Brazil, for example, to Asia. So let's get it started. We as a company, we're a top provider of mobile games, probably top 12, and we have a big presence throughout Asia. We're based in Beijing, and we have presence through Japan, Korea, Indonesia, Singapore, India. Our team in London represents Europe, and then our team in San Francisco specifically helps with the Americas. So if any developer in Brazil wants any relationship and learning more about Asia, feel free to reach out to us directly. What we've been doing the last several years, and we specialize in, it's very complex to take a game from one continent to another, or to another country for that matter. We make it very easy for you to understand this. First, we actually took a lot of games from China and Asia to the US and to the West. Now in the last couple of years, we have helped US-based games and Latin American games really scale through the Eastern markets. Specifically, why is Asia Pacific so special? Well, 60% of the world's population is there. There's about 4.3 billion people. I'm specifically gonna highlight the major markets in Far East Asia, which China, South Korea, Japan. We'll also highlight some of the Southeast Asian markets as well. Let's talk about China. So in the last 20 years, big boom, overall markets, half the population, 700 million, are middle class, of which it's a very mobile first culture, meaning everybody who basically uses the internet is on their phone doing so. So there's 900 million active devices and well over about 6 hours worth of usage, 20 apps. And within those 20 apps, there's several games. And on average, that person generates about $40 for a game. So the mobile, let me kind of explain the gaming market. So overall, gaming market is a 150 billion plus market, half of which, about 70 billion, is mobile devices. And then of the 70 billion, about 28%, so $20 billion is China alone. It's about 70% of the Chinese users that use their phones play mobile games. And in the last year alone, you can see with this data set that almost 100% played a game at least one time during the lockdown, during the pandemic. Now, outside of China, where are the three biggest markets that games are developed and actually shipped to China? Japan, United States, and South Korea. To give some context with the Japanese and China, before capitalism really grew in the Chinese market, Japanese IP in games and animation and anime were somewhat allowed to go into China. So there's a lot of kind of context with people our generation who are now adults still have like an energy watching these games. It's also proximity is very close. So that's a huge reason why. The other is in the last few years, the United States gaming market is really knowledgeable about taking their IP and translating it to the Chinese market. And what I wanted to show here is there's a lot of potential for Brazilian developers to really get into the Chinese market. In the next few slides, I'll show you kind of like best practices specifically on how. The first and foremost is really understanding that don't be afraid about the complexities. For example, Google, Facebook, Twitter are not in China. It's okay. Their big alliance of technology companies are called BAT. So Baidu, ByteDance, Alibaba, and Tencent, of which they have a huge market share, nearly 70 to 80% of that. And there's over 200 app stores that you could decide to work with in launching your game on the Google side. One thing to note, you don't have to choose just one. You actually could choose up to 40 to 50 of these app stores to launch your game. But the challenge is managing that. So finding out who's the right partner. Does your game go compatible? Can these companies actually have a device like Xiaomi has a device? Can it embed your game into that? Those are some strategies. Another one is being unaware of the International Standard Book Number, ISBN. It's an organization that basically curates approval process for your game to get into the Chinese market. There's a big back order of like 2,000 games right now being reviewed. One of the things to really consider is if you've created a game that's free and casual, only do it with advertisements. So a lot of hyper casual games only make their revenue through ad displays. That's perfect. You could launch that on iOS and go to the Chinese market, no problem. Once you've decided that, oh, you have a little bit more of a premium game with in-app purchases and so forth, then you really have to plan accordingly within maybe 3 months, 6 months, even to a year to really get that approved by that. One thing to definitely consider is localization in your game. So the first thing we always advise everybody, if you can, create a simplified Chinese language translation for your entire game. That's one. App Store optimization, making that App Store in the Chinese App Store on iOS or those Play Stores, make your game look and feel catered to the App Store to get more installs that way. And then if you have the capital, if you have the money to do so, really kind of create your game into the look and feel of what the Chinese market likes. So Qilu, for example, Subway Surfer is one of the most downloaded games. I think there's over 1 billion plus installs. They have created this was in 2017, a Shanghai version where the game look and feel, the design layout looks like Shanghai. So it appeals to that market, as well as the fact that the IP of the characters, as you can see here, again, has like more of like the Chinese characters involved versus just like the Western characters. We have an organization called MindWorks Creative. So we help handhold game studios like yours to go to, say, China or whatever market you like, an A/B test, meaning taking an ad unit. This is a playable ad from Tile Master. And so this playable is like a game, mini game in an ad. And then you almost copy paste very similar type of gameplay. And over here we did 3. Generally people test anywhere from 2 to 100 of these ad units. This was 3, easy, medium, and hard. And each one of these did very well when it comes to the install per impression. This is specifically a game that is a puzzle match 3 game that does very well on the casual market. You can see also, if you look into the details, there's simplified Chinese writings below and inside the ad unit. Next is another playable ad. This is more of a hardcore based game, a popular one, Idle Heroes. We basically copy paste a lot of the game that it already has. The IP, again, the characters that pop in and out, you can see, as well as some of the Chinese text that pop in. Again, catered to the market, very effective, and playable. The interesting thing is in the Chinese culture is very open to looking at ad units like this it's like a game within a game. One thing to note, it's written on the bottom part here, is live action. So live action is pretty much like, Chinese culture is a collectivistic culture. They like sharing a lot of things. One of the things we show ads is like two people playing a game, and then one person wins, one person loses. These type of live action ad units do very well as well. So it's something to consider. We could show you a sample some other time. Let's talk about Japan. Japan, over 100 million smartphone devices, 35% play games, but of that, like 35 million, they're the highest generating revenue user base, in all of Asia per person. They generate almost $200 on average revenue-wise, and a lot of the kind of the core games that you want to kind of have a user stay, 7, 30, up to 90 days. The Japanese are very competitive, and they stay and actually monetize the most than any of the markets there. So some of the things to keep in mind is the Japanese market is very open to advertisements in different channels. So what you want to do is, work with ad networks like ourselves. There's Western market ad networks like Yahoo, Facebook, Google. There's also their social network called Line. It's their biggest chat application there. There's Smart News, their biggest news app. And then you could also kind of do they call it like a spray pray, where you could do, billboards, digital signs, subway ads, try to align it all at the same time. Even in cases doing, what do you call it, influencer advertising, having people like play your game on live TV, something that they're open to in the Japanese market. South Korea is one of the top markets out of the world. I think it's top 5. I love these data sets. Actually, this is amazing. There's 50 million people in South Korea. It's 90%, if 95% are on their smartphone. They have a smartphone there using the internet. And then 90% of the entire country plays mobile games. Again, so out of 50 million people, almost 45 million people play mobile games there regularly, and so they play almost an hour a day of mobile games. So something to keep in mind. And one of the key things I would say, just to have this excitement, is very similar to the Chinese culture, is you really want to consider translating your game into the Korean language, maybe having game mechanics that are catered to the Korean culture, and and they're a little bit more catered to core mechanics of RPG and like hardcore games as well. So those type of games, if you're launching, it's a good market to launch within. And then very similar to the ISBN in China, in Korea they have an approval process by their game rating and administration service. So make sure to build a relationship with that organization and plan ahead to make sure you get your game approved to go live within the South Korean market. And then again, as we discussed in Japan, the social network Line. In China, it's WeChat. Over in Korea, they have Kakao. So that's their biggest chat app. I want to also get into the discussion about, hyper casual games, the biggest games right now that are exploding in the charts. Very competitive. It's hyper casual. I call it like 5-10 second games, maybe a minute long. Very competitive to get in the charts. What we do is we handhold studios like iWine. This game reminds me a lot of, what was the original game? It was called, anyways, I forgot the name of the game, but it's like Brain Out, where it's like a casual puzzle, and to compete within all these charts. We help them target, like you would like design layout for the Chinese market, for the Korean market, for the Japanese market, and the US, so bridging in East and West. And luckily they got #1 in the South Korean market. They got ranked 4th in Japan and 4th in the United States. And in that month time frame that we helped them out, 2 things did really happen. One is they were able to get 9 million installs and a huge bump. Let's quickly talk about Southeast Asia. There's about 500 million users, so 500 million people there, and 250 million of those people play games. Keep in mind, Indonesia is the biggest market with over 100 million people there. And then even though the market of Singapore is small, they're the highest grossing per person. So 5 million people, about $77 worth. Interesting point on the corner, you can see the disparity historically in Southeast Asia is almost all Android. It's almost split now, iOS, Android. And then over here, you can see kind of each country like has a split of games, RPG, racing, casual. One of the things I really wanted to emphasize here is where the advertising is going in mobile. I call this stock trading for ads. So historically, you had to line up manual installations of your ad unit pricing. So let's say you wanted to do $10 to $50 increments of 5 to 10. So 10, 15, 20, 25, up to $50. And then you manually add all the top networks into your server onto the back end of like a mediator, and then allow each of the networks to bid. And then, or like as a waterfall, paying $50, no, 12 networks there, $45, no. Well, unfortunately, that takes a lot of time. There's lag. Bidding is real time. A network like ours, who does really well in Asia, could outbid everybody for the highest price for every impression possible. And if you want a little bit more understanding of this, we could help discuss this further beyond discussion. We have well over 2,000 developers worldwide and advertisers buying on our network, primarily games, but we do have e-commerce and security-based applications. One thing to quickly note here is that even with the pandemic, gaming has really made people feel positive and happier. And afterwards, there's a huge sign that a lot of people will continue playing mobile games throughout the world. Again, so some key takeaways: 3 out of the 5 biggest markets to actually really consider launching your mobile game is China, Japan, Korea. Localize. If you can, have a provider like Mint who will help you do certain things like translation, UI, UX, ad design, and layout. And then if you want to go to China, the fastest way to go on iOS, free, casual, with advertisement. Thank you so much, and happy to answer any questions if there's time still.
Hello. Now we are checking some comments from the audience, okay?
Sure.
Let me receive here. Which mobile OS is the most used in the China?
So around 85% of the usage is Android there. And then 150 million people still use iOS, but out of those 150 million, almost up to 80% of the revenue is coming from those users. So even though Android is still majority, about like 700 million users are Android, most of the revenue still comes from iOS in China.
Perfect. Let me check. I think there is one more.
Okay.
In your opinion, which Asian country presents the least obstacles for a studio that is venturing for the first time in the region?
Wow. I think it depends on the type of game you have. The interesting thing about China is they have more people speaking English than they do here in the United States. So even if you have a casual game, again, on iOS, just put in, like, with no in-app purchases, you want to do ads, you could actually try to do it in China. It's better to do it in Chinese translation. However, some of the ones to test out, I would say primarily is Hong Kong, Singapore, Philippines. These are other markets to be seamless to go and launch. And then once you have that aligned, you probably could launch throughout the rest of Asia.
Perfect. Thank you for your expertise. Let me check. I think it's the last one.
Okay.
One moment, please. Now, now we have. I'm sorry. What's the most used engine for developing games in Asia?
From my understanding, it's Unity for mobile games.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks ever so much to Chobir Shabir. Do you want to say goodbye?
Yes, I know. Thank you, obrigado. Yeah, but thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, have a great afternoon, evening there.
Thank you. De nada. Thanks to Shabir. That was awesome. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Please stay with us. Eu sou filha de nordestino e eu tenho uma cabeça minúscula. Esse boné nem cabe na minha cabeça. É mito isso aí. Coitada da mãe. Não acredito. Coitada. Ah, tá. Eu já tava assim. Hello. Já entra pra mim direto. Hello, we are back and glad to see you again. This is Nive Stefan. Let's welcome to Big Festival 2021. If you are watching us in English and would like to change to Portuguese, all our sessions have simultaneous translations. So you can go to nimo.tv/bigfestival and choose the link with the right language. Se você caiu sem querer nessa transmissão em inglês e quer assistir ela em português, a gente tem tradução simultânea aqui no canal. Basta acessar nimo.tv/bigfestival. Here at the Big Festival, you can find a job, get incredible discounts at your store, speak live with game developers, and so much more. Do you know how? Just go to bigfestival.com.br and access the event map. Now, let's watch. Among TV shows and beaten-up games developing Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid saga continues. We will talk about the adaptation of the IPs Karate Kid and Cobra Kai to video game, from early development to voice acting sessions with Hollywood actors. We will hear about the challenges and solutions. Let's welcome Paulo Luis Santos, founder and head of studio at Flux Games. Arthur Protásio, founder, creative director, multi-platform writer and producer at Fableware Narrative Design. And Paul Campanha, director of production at Game Mill Entertainment. Please feel free, the screen is yours.
Amazing, fantastic. Thank you so much for this wonderful introduction. People of the internet, I speak directly from the Cobra Kai dojo. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. And I am Arthur Patazio. With me tonight here, we have Paulo, as already introduced. Paulo, say hi to our viewers, Paulo.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paulo from São Paulo, Flux Games. I'm here with my Cobra Kai sweatshirt and really excited to do this talk.
And also with us, we have Paul Campana, straight from the United States as well. Say hi, Paul.
Hey, everyone. Pleasure to meet you all.
So we're here tonight, gathered. Thank you so much for the big festival for this opportunity. We're actually here because it's not that common for you to see such an amazing opportunity with a candid conversation between a publisher, and that's Paul representing GameJamPlus Entertainment, a developer, that's Paul representing Flux Studios, and a writer and narrative designer, me, representing Fableware, in the sense that together, not just the three of us, of course, huge teams, but we together put the game Cobra Kai, an adaptation of the IP that today is known from being the hit on Netflix, but before that wasn't even on Netflix. So we're going to have a really good chat just discussing everything that went into the making of this game. But before we get to that part, in case you haven't seen what Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid Saga Continues looks like, I'm just going to briefly show a trailer of the game. So let me just show you that real quick. And of course, afterwards, you can watch it on YouTube as well.
Strike first. You're gonna pay for this. Strike hard.
We're done.
Who's next? No mercy.
It's over. This ends here.
Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid Saga continues.
All right. So for those of you who don't know, the game was actually released last year, 2020, in October for consoles, PC and consoles. So if you're interested and you want to check it out, go for it. But right now, before you even start playing, what we want to talk about is how the game began, how it came to be. And Paul is the best person to talk about that, because back then, when the project was still in its early stages, it wasn't even on Netflix. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah, so the way the game got started is, we're always looking for new licenses and new opportunities and game ideas. And one of our business development managers happened to watch the show, loved it, and, asked us to kind of look at it and see what we thought. So we did that. After we all watched it, we were kind of hooked. We loved the idea of it. We pursued, trying to get the rights to be able to make a game for it. And honestly, the show was on YouTube Red when we obtained the rights to make the game. It wasn't until really like mid-development that we found out it was going to Netflix. So as you could imagine, that day was just an amazing day for everyone on the project, from the publisher side to the developer side, and I'm sure even on your side as the writer, it sort of changed things in a massive way. So
yeah, it was. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, on our end, it was like, oh my God, it's like, because there was some speculation about it. It would go to Netflix. They were shopping for it. And then suddenly it was Netflix. We were like, oh my God, now our responsibility is like quadrupled. It's so huge because this is going to be big because the show is good. And we all felt that it would be a huge hit on Netflix. And that's what happened. So we were very excited on that day. It was really cool.
Yeah, we were even talking about this, right, just before we went online, and we were discussing like how each of us got involved or learned about the series, or even when we were like having the opportunity to watch the episodes. Like in my case specifically, true story, Paulo got in touch with me and Paulo said, hey, there's this amazing project that we got to work on. And I'm like, dude, tell me about it. And then when I got the chance to actually start like getting involved with the IP, I was actually on a plane leaving Montreal, headed for Lisbon in Portugal. So the show wasn't on Netflix. What did I do? I just downloaded all of the episodes that I could from the YouTube Red app, and I binge watched on the plane. And it was fantastic. It was amazing. It's the kind of show that you really have the opportunity to just dive in, and you get to witness the characters. You get to see everyone involved, and you get to be engrossed with the story.
And I remember you texting me from the airport, right? Hey man, I watched this. It's so cool. Let's do this. It was really fun.
Yeah, for me, I remember watching it and it being the end of season 2, and it was 6 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, I could not put it down.
Fantastic. And the question that begs to be asked is like, well, we all know at this point how big the IP is and how cool it is to be able to have worked on a game for it. But it only came to be because although it started with you on the licensing, on the publishing end, Paul, eventually you got in touch with Paulo representing Flux, and Flux was a developer in charge of the game. So how did this connection, how did this partnership take shape?
Yeah, I mean, so typically once you decide you're going to make a game, you obtain the license, everything is clear. You do what's called an RFP, which is a request for proposal. So you contact a bunch of developers and you ask them to sort of submit game ideas, pitches, and honestly, I mean, we got a ton of them, but there was something special about Paulo's pitch. I mean, not only does Paulo make the best decks I've ever seen from a developer, I mean, just amazing decks. You could see the passion from Paulo and his team about the ideas that they put forward. And I mean, even stretching back to the Karate Kid with some of their ideas and things that could be crossed over, it really just stood out in the batch of all the other documents, to be honest. So.
Yeah, thank you so much for those words, Paul. They mean a lot. The thing is that it was so much fun to do all that creation and put that into a document and into a project that it flowed. It took a lot of effort. It was not an easy job, but it was so easy with this cool IP, and we did it it was really cool just to have the opportunity to work with that, like watch the movies earlier and watch the series, binge watched it too. It was so much fun. So then one of the things that we really wanted to put into the project was the nostalgia factor, because the series is all about nostalgia. Like there's Johnny and Daniel, and they throw back to the movies all the time. We wanted to nail that in the game too. So it was very interesting to try to capture that feeling and put into gameplay. So one of the things that we did to be nostalgic in gameplay was just throw back to games that make people feel that nostalgia. So the game is a beat 'em up. That's already nostalgic just on the genre. And on top of that, we added some attacks, some moves, like you instantly know that that's from the 90s. So you can throw the characters at the screen with just like in Turtles in Time. And you can like mount on top of other characters and just smack their heads in the floor. Just like an earlier game called Combat Tribes. Not even that famous, but all those things, they make you feel nostalgic. So you play the game, you feel just as nostalgic as you feel when you watch the show. I think that's one of the touches that we made sure to put on that pitch deck and in the game later when we were on the project, to make sure it was really on brand and just representing what Cobra Kai means.
Yeah, what's super cool is that like the brand Cobra Kai also, it's extremely connected to this nostalgic feeling as you were describing, but in the sense that like the All Valley Karate Tournament took place in 1984. That's when the Karate Kid movie takes place. And then Cobra Kai, the show, takes 34 years later. So the characters themselves, Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso, they've aged, but they're still deeply influenced by these generations, by those decades as well. So when you mention games like Turtles in Time, to me, it just feels like what would be if Johnny, of course, played video games, because we all know he's not very tech savvy. But if he were, like, what games would he play? Would Turtles in Time be that sort of experience? So I think it's a really on-brand nostalgia that extends itself to all of the layers of the storytelling of that particular experience. Even the soundtrack, like the soundtrack for the game, that was done by Leo and Zach, who are the composers of the show. Isn't that the case, Paul?
Yeah. So those are, first of all, Leo and Zach are great guys. They do all the music for the show itself. we were able to work something out, and they did all of the music. I mean, every single bit of music in that game was done by Leo and Zach, which made it feel even more on brand and just up the experience tremendously. We're thrilled with the work that those guys did on this game.
Yeah, and so easy to work with, such professionals, and so good at what they do. Like when the songs came in and we just got them into the levels, it was just like magic. It fit perfectly. It gave all this sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, not only that, the detail, Paulo. How about how they changed up the music based on the dojo you were in, even? So it's not repetitive music. I mean, there are differences depending on what dojo you're using as you play through the game. Really cool stuff.
It's really cool. And then for whoever wants to check it out, you can check on Spotify. They play the soundtrack is on Spotify and other wherever you listen to your music. You can check it out if you like hard rock, like guitar-driven rock, all those things. It's there. It's great. I really recommend it.
So even if you're playing as Miyagi-Do, but you still prefer the Cobra Kai soundtrack, you can put Spotify to play, and you can still.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, like, again, we go back to the on-brand, which is so important, especially from when you're working on a licensed title, right? Because you really want to make sure that the brand is respected, and not only respected, but expanded in a way that it's really a part of that experience. I mean, there's no way we can talk about Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do and talk about Daniel LaRusso and Johnny without talking about their rivalry, which was one of the cornerstone aspects, pillars of the gameplay experience, right?
Yeah, that's correct. When we were in the beginning of the project, one of the code names was kind of Rivalry Never Ends, because that's kind of their story. So we used that and we made that rivalry translate into gameplay, meaning if you play Cobra Kai, you have fire attacks and you strike first, strike hard. It's more all about attack and damage. And if you play Miyagi-Do, you have more health. You can react more. You slow enemies down with ice. And all those things, it's important to have attention to details, not out of nowhere. If you watch season 2, episode 3, there's this Valley Fest episode where there is this fire versus ice. It's the name of the episode, and they have that thing. And we also translated that into narrative, which is where you came to play, Arthur. So tell us a little bit, how was it to create like this story told from two perspectives and to reflect that rivalry?
Well, that was awesome. I mean, awesome opportunity to work on that, because in a way, it reminded me of like some old school games. I even think of like Suikoden, for example, that allowed you to watch a specific story from different perspectives. And I think that there's even a line, there's a line in the 3rd season of, I'm not going to spoil in what context, but there's a line in the 3rd season of Cobra Kai that a character says, there are 3 sides to every story. There's yours, there's his, and there's the truth, you know? So like, it's cool because we did exactly that. Even before the 3rd season, we did exactly that with the story. We have the story told from the Cobra Kai perspective, which is like, hey, there's this incident that happens, seems like kind of like a trap or something. And then Johnny is tricked. If you play as Cobra Kai, obviously, then Johnny, Miguel, Hawk, etc. And all of the characters from the Cobra Kai dojo, they team up to find out what's going on. Same thing with Miyagi-Do, but what's super cool is that if you play as Miyagi-Do, you get to the Miyagi-Do ending, meaning you got to the end of the story, but the end of the story from that perspective, right? And then it was so cool, the fact that we were able to combine everything from a gameplay narrative perspective, like really from this overarching design experience, in which if you play now with the other dojo, could be Cobra Kai or Miyagi-Do, whatever dojo you haven't played with, you get then later to the true ending. And that's fantastic. That's when, and it's not like what I'm really proud of the result that we achieved. It's just that the true ending is a natural consequence of the storytelling experience of the game. It's not like, hey, wait, you played the game and oh yeah, so now you gotta go after these infinite collectibles or something just to be able to see an extra little bit of the story. You know, like it is really part of the experience.
Yeah, and that's amazing. It binds everything together.
Yeah. But I mean, there are like, and there are lines like when we talk about like the storytelling experience, there's no way we can talk about the game without talking about the voice acting. And all three of us had like an amazing time recording with actors like William Zabka, Ralph Macchio, all the characters. Like we had Hawk and Dimitri from the show as well. Jacob returned. So how was that experience for both of you? I mean, for me, it was like amazing. But how was it for both of you?
Yeah, I tried to stay professional in it, to be honest. I mean, you know, I'm born 1980, so I obviously grew up with Karate Kid and even had the action figures when I was younger. But yeah, getting to meet those guys and then getting to work on something with them, I mean, once in a lifetime kind of experience to be in that room and go through that stuff with them. Very grateful for the opportunity, and it was just a blast.
I totally second that. It was just amazing. And I remember, and even the guys that I didn't know because they're younger, like Jacob Bertrand, the actor playing Hawk, I remember vividly when he started his session and he entered, like, and before he would say even hello, he just went in the mic and said, "Cobra Kai is in the house."
Yes.
It was a lot of energy. It was so much fun. It was like, this is going to be great, man. And it was so much fun to record with all those really talented people. It was like once in a lifetime experiences. It's really great, really cool.
Yeah, that just brings up a great point. Yeah, even the younger guys, they were so professional and on point with their lines and the passion and the energy. I mean, we didn't have, you know, typically you're in a VO session, you have to sometimes work with the actor to get the right energy to fit the script, right? Because they may have read the script, but they don't understand the vision. Those guys nailed it almost every time, line by line. Unbelievable for such talented actors at that age, to be honest.
Well, and even the, you know, like when we had like William Zabka recording and then you get the classic quiet, you know, like it's fantastic because what I like about the brand is that every character is very distinct, you know, so like when even Paulo mentioned the fact that we had like Hawk, like the Hawk is in the house, like you could easily tell the style of each character. And when Dimitri was the character on spot and we had the voice acting for that, it was just so interesting to see. Like one thing is the line on the paper or even just the visuals of the character, but when you get the voice acting, that brings another level of life to the game we're putting together. That was fantastic.
And not only on story, but on gameplay too. When they start like. Just imagine like a Hadouken without saying Hadouken. It just changes everything. So that's something we brought into the game. So all the special moves, they have their names and they yell it, and it brings it's really cool. And the voice acting, when you add that layer to the game, it just like throws the game up a few levels in terms of quality. It was really cool.
Yeah, it feels very authentic. And then speaking of authentic, I'm wondering, what were the, I mean, we had lots of Easter eggs and references in the game. One of them that I am the most proud of, and I got the chance to work a lot with that from a script perspective, like with lines that referenced all the way from Karate Kid to different aspects and seasons. There was one line in particular that, man, it's, I can't even talk about it too much, possibly hinting at a spoiler, but there's in the Karate Kid movie, there is a point where, Kreese says nobody touches the prima donna until the tournament, when he's referring to Daniel LaRusso. And there's a line that I put in there that makes a reference to that scene. And it's so cool to see that sort of thing happening. Now, what I'm wondering is, Paulo, did you, what's the, I don't know, the reaction, the most awesome reaction you saw coming from fans based on an Easter egg or a reference that you put in?
I'm gonna tell a story about two. One that is real and one that was just speculation. First, the speculation. When the trailer came out and people like watched frame by frame, they realized there was this enemy that it was a security guard that was called Diaz. And then there were these theories that, hey, maybe this guy is Miguel's father because it's Miguel Diaz, right? And we're like, whoa, I didn't even think it was not on purpose at all, that one specifically, but it was really cool to see how the internet reacted to it because there's this huge, amazing fan base and they feed off of everything that we provide. And that's just big responsibility, but it's very cool. In the end, it was just a security guard with the same last name. But and one real one that I really like is when we like attention to detail is everything when you're dealing with an important IP. So there's Tom Cole, it's Danielle's rival. He also sells cars, and he's a very arrogant, like annoying character. And you have Daniel's slogan, which is "We kick the competition." So we were very happy to create an achievement in the game that if you finish Tom Cole with a kick, then you get the achievement kicking the competition. So that's just fun. If you're a fan of the show and you unlock that achievement, it's like, nice. So we love to do those kind of things.
Yeah, we tried to.
It was fantastic.
Even with achievements, I mean, we really tried to respect the brand, but put in all these little Easter eggs and things from the Cobra Kai universe and achievements everywhere we possibly could. We tried.
We just 1 second here. We have a question, which was. We had a question before, which was about the voice acting. And the question was exactly, how was the contact with the voice actors of the game? We went through that. It was amazing. And what was the biggest challenge when working with this IP? We're basically here almost out of time, but we went through some aspects. Can you think just top of mind, like one specific challenge that came to mind when working with the IP?
Well, I'm gonna take your side of things. I think it's not really. I wouldn't say a challenge, but obviously, Arthur, as you know, there was a lot about the narrative. We have so much narrative in the game, right? I mean, there's so many lines and everything else that we did have quite a few rounds of back and forth just to get the script perfect. But I wouldn't say a challenge. Honestly, those rounds made it just so much better in the end. So,
I mean, I definitely echo that because, again, it's like, for example, if we look at filmmaking and screenwriting, rarely ever do you get like that first draft, and the first draft itself is like primed for recording. And in this case, there was so much, like, I remember even in this back and forth with the writers and producers of the show, I remember when we were like discussing specific references to events that happened in this show. Like, there is one very specific and notable event, which is the front wedgie that Aisha gives Yasmin. And we were discussing that in the script. And then at a moment, it was written as wedgie. And one of the comments was like, oh yeah, but the characters in that show refer to it as a front wedgie. So like, it goes down to that, like, I'm not kidding you. It goes to that level of detail just to make sure that it is on brand. And that is brilliant. That is perfect because we want to make sure that it's right by the fans.
And for me, what I would mention, I know we're out of time, just very quickly, it's that working with transmedia, like with an IP that's on TV and we're working with a game, I would say the biggest challenge from a game development perspective is that all the things must be good, must be interesting, and must not spoil each other. So that's a tricky balance to find. So how can I make it interesting in the game while still something is going on with the series? And that's something that if you're just developing your own IP, you usually don't have that same thing. But when you're working with license, it's a challenge, but it's at the same time, it's really fun because we got to work with many talented people that helped us make an even better job at what the game would be. So that's something that it was very nice to do.
Yeah, it's. I think that we to see the audience reaction. One of the examples and moments that I remember was when we were close to release. We were like actually releasing the game, and I took part in a Ask Me Anything on Reddit with the writers of the show, and it was really cool to see the audience engagement. So it's really nice to see how people take the characters seriously, and it's all connected, right? Like we even had back then, we were working on the script. And we added in a character from the third season when the third season hadn't even been launched yet. So we managed to sneak in Easter eggs and references. Well, our time is up. So just to finalize things, Paulo and Paul, first Paulo, then Paul, how can people find out more about your work and be in touch?
This was great. The people can look at, just go to flux.games. That's our website, flux.games, or look for Flux Games on the internet. You'll find us there. Get in touch. We have lots of job openings for the developers out there watching this. So just get in touch with us. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the opportunity, Arthur and Paul.
Awesome. Paul.
Yeah, you can search for me on LinkedIn if you'd like. We can connect that way, or you can go to gamemill.com to the contact us section and just fill out a little contact box, and I'll get back to you. And I would just like to thank all the fans of the show and everyone who's obtained the game and gone through the experience. We're greatly appreciative of it.
Fantastic. On my end, if you want to find me, just look up my name, Arthur Patazio. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. And if you want to learn more about Fableware, it's fablewaredesign.com. Thank you so much, Big. Thank you so much, Paulo and Paul, for this. It was amazing. And see ya. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy.
Fantastic. Thanks ever so much. Thanks to Paulo, Arthur, and Paul. This panel was amazing. Thanks ever so much for your audience. We will be back in 5 minutes. See you soon. Estamos de volta ao Big Festival 2021. Eu sou a Nive Stefan, é um prazer estar aqui com vocês nesse dia fantástico. Lembrando que todas as nossas palestras têm tradução simultânea em inglês e português. Se você quiser acompanhar em outro idioma, acesse nimo.tv/bigfestival. If you are watching us in Portuguese and would like to follow in English, just go to nimo.tv/bigfestival and choose the link with the right language. Aqui no Big Festival, além dessas palestras fantásticas, você também pode jogar mais de 100 jogos grátis, ganhar brindes e cupons e até até mesmo achar um emprego. É só acessar bigfestival.com.br para ver o mapa do evento. Você também vai poder fazer perguntas na maioria das palestras através do chat ou através das hashtags BigFestival 2021 e jogue no Big Festival. Vamos então ao nosso painel, o Metaverso do Cidade Alta. Vamos falar de como o Cidade Alta criou um multiverso que permite que criadores de conteúdo se cruzem, independente de outras plataformas, criando arcos super relevantes para a sua marca e narrativa pessoal. Então, gostaria de chamar aqui o Paulo Bennett, CEO e CEO do Outplay Company. Olá, Paulo, tudo bem?
Oi, Nive, tudo bem? Prazer conhecê-la.
Prazer é todo meu, querido. A tela é toda sua, fica à vontade.
Tudo bom, gente? Muito obrigado, Big Festival, por estar nos convidando aqui para fazer parte desse evento maravilhoso. Eu sou Paulo Benetti, sou CEO da Outplay Company, uma empresa voltada em gestão de assets gamers, onde a nossa proposta é como explorar de forma mais efetiva esse universo de metaverso, né? E, assim, o que é o metaverso, né? Essa palavra está tão na moda, assim, no nosso universo de games. E, assim, para nós, nada mais é que a conversão do mundo real para o digital, né? Então, assim, quando eu falo isso, são formas que a gente acaba não existindo limites, né? Quando falamos de narrativas e experiências jamais vistas anteriormente. Um desses universos, um desses momentos assim que ficou bem lembrados na nossa cabeça do ano passado foi o show do Travis Scott dentro do Fortnite, né, que extrapolou toda essa experiência tradicional que nós tínhamos anteriormente de eventos, onde levou não apenas uma experiência nova para todo mundo sobre o que é um evento, né, e como ele funciona, mas como também revolucionou a experiência tradicional de ir para um show. Então, assim, de forma muito mais, a gente entende como democrática, né, onde independente do lugar onde você estivesse, as pessoas estivessem, a experiência seria a mesma das demais pessoas, além da proximidade que elas teriam com a celebridade, né, no caso. Num ambiente super diferente que é do universo de games. E assim, aqui dentro da Outplay, nós somos os proprietários do servidor de Cidade Alta, né, que é um servidor de GTA RP, muitos conhecem já. Nós consideramos um exemplo muito bom de metaverso, onde nós conseguimos levar essa vida assim, cotidiana, né, para o digital, fazendo um ambiente muito similar da vida real, onde permitem que pessoas, na verdade, nesse universo paralelo, não só joguem como interpretem personagens como elas queiram ser. Então, assim, ali as pessoas podem trabalhar no emprego que eles querem, ter os carros que eles querem, ter as profissões que eles querem, mas tudo isso da mesma forma que na vida real, né? Eu quero contar um pouco mais para vocês como essa experiência também de Cidade Alta chega com uma proposta também muito, muito inovadora para as marcas, onde nós fizemos no ano passado, né, o case de Brahma, que foi um momento muito importante para nós e um marco um pouco assim dentro dos jogos, onde a gente fez o lançamento da cerveja Brahma Duplo Malte Long Neck dentro dos games. Nós usamos assim coisas da vida real que já existiam, como a fábrica de agudos da Brahma Duplo Malte. Nós fizemos o caminhão deles dentro do game, fizemos o bar da Brahma Duplo Malte, um evento onde nós celebramos a cerveja. E, assim, uma coisa que foi bem bacana foi que a Brahma, anteriormente, ela era uma cerveja era uma bebida que, na verdade, ela dominava muito o cenário de sertanejo, assim. Então, assim, o território de sertanejo, onde os eventos, né, os festivais sertanejos, as lives dos sertanejos, e enxergou em games uma forma de se envolver mesmo, assim, de forma consciente. Onde eu falo consciente porque todo mundo sabe, né, espera que quando vai consumir uma bebida alcoólica você não deve dirigir, mas no games, apesar de toda essa oportunidade da criação, da criatividade e fazer o que as pessoas bem entendem dentro do jogo, ali quando ela consumia bebida alcoólica, a gente fez uma coisa que era para realmente educar as pessoas, onde só de tentar abrir a porta do motorista, isso já era bloqueado e aparecia uma mensagem bem clara de tipo assim, bom, parece que você bebeu, né, não é uma boa dirigir. Então, assim, mesmo conectando esse universo da vida real para dentro do games, nós fizemos isso de uma forma muito consciente, pensando que este momento em especial, quando voltasse, o momento que as festas voltariam, os eventos normais, tradicionais voltassem, isso servisse também não só como uma experiência nova de metaverso, mas também de conscientização das pessoas que ali assistem, né? Esse case de trazer marcas para dentro do Cidade Alta acabou também nos despertando um momento que nós enxergamos a possibilidade também de fazer acontecer os eventos esporádicos que não estavam acontecendo. Então, neste ano, nós acabamos promovendo o Carnaval Cidade Alta, junto com o Monobloco. Nós contamos assim com marcas em parceria conosco, que foi o Engolve After, foi Tinder, foi Trident. Na época, contamos com artistas fazendo um show. Foi assim, realmente uma experiência 360 assim, para todo mundo. Eu trouxe fotos ali para mostrar um pouco para vocês de como funciona um pouco Cidade Alta, para vocês que não conhecem, mas a gente tem outdoor dentro do jogo, assim como na vida real. Os carros são os mesmos da vida real. O show mesmo, a gente contou com os artistas mesmo interpretando. E assim, para dar todo aquele corpo de carnaval, nós acabamos trazendo também o monobloco para dentro do show. Então, isso com esse evento em especial, contou com mais de 150 influenciadores fazendo live simultaneamente, realmente curtindo o carnaval e mostrando assim que realmente é uma experiência que não estava acontecendo por conta da pandemia em si, mas ela vai continuar acontecendo assim que voltar, porque as marcas se sentiram muito acolhidas também assim pelo público gamer, né? Que é um público muito fiel, acabou gostando muito e realmente a diversão aconteceu assim como na vida real, né? Nós acreditamos muito assim, né? Quando falamos de metaverso e todas essas experiências em game e fora do game, né? Na vida real, que é uma oportunidade da gente entender que isso daí já não é o futuro, é a realidade, né? Antigamente a gente jogava jogos com os nossos amigos, mas assim, e sempre interagindo e tudo mais, mas cada vez mais nos fez mostrar que a vida real se conecta muito no digital. Os jogos mostram assim para a gente que momentos que você não tinha com seus amigos, não consegue mais ter pelo momento que nós estamos, o jogo nos permite isso, que é toda a interação de dar risada, brincar, enfim, toda essa diversão que você teria não só em festa, mas em qualquer momento com seus amigos, a gente consegue fazer isso acontecer dentro de jogo, né? E dentro assim da Outplay, não só falando de Cidade Alta em especial, é um desafio muito grande para nós assim explorar todo o universo de metaverso e onde a gente consegue estar entrando. E por isso também nós estamos dando um próximo passo agora, na verdade, que é expandir para um segundo servidor agora, só que dessa vez de Minecraft, onde a gente acredita que essa nova IP nossa, né, vai ser uma grande oportunidade também para nós explorarmos ainda mais esse universo de games e toda essa experiência com um público diferente do 18+, que a gente acaba explorando hoje junto com Cidade Alta, né? Gente, é isso. Eu quero muito agradecer. Espero que tenha ficado um pouco mais claro para vocês o que é o metaverso. É um prazer muito grande para nós, para mim, estar aqui com vocês. E também estou à disposição aí para responder qualquer dúvida que vocês tenham sobre o assunto, sobre Cidade Alta. E muito obrigado, gente.
Muito obrigada, viu, Paulo? Deixa eu aproveitar e fazer uma perguntinha para você. Como que vocês fazem, geralmente, claro. Por exemplo, quando vocês começaram ali a criar o servidor, já tinha alguns outros servidores, né? E aí, como que vocês fizeram, assim, para adaptar os estilos? Porque eu, às vezes, transito entre alguns servidores, mas eu vi que de vocês é muito completo. Como vocês conseguiram ali reunir todas as coisas dentro do servidor?
Na verdade, assim, o universo de GTRP sempre existiu, né? Mas o que a gente fez e teve como atenção Cidade Alta para fazer um universo ainda mais democrático, onde respeitasse as coisas na vida real. E isso acabou sendo uma coisa muito atrativa, não só para jogadores e para quem estava criando conteúdo, porque, como você disse, anteriormente o GTRP era muito visto assim, polícia e ladrão, assalto e tudo mais, e a gente via como uma oportunidade muito mais de diversão. Então, coisas do tipo que o pessoal enxergava o GTA de sair matando é uma coisa que assim não acontece no Cidade Alta. Realmente para nós é mais interessante a historinha, a gente dá toda aquela atenção quando escolhemos a whitelist do servidor para histórico daquelas pessoas, se eles já foram envolvidos em algum caso de racismo, preconceito, isso a gente não acaba permitindo. Se isso vem acontecendo no servidor, a gente acaba banindo. Então, assim, a nossa proposta com Cidade Alta é realmente estar espelhando ali uma vida cotidiana mesmo, a vida real no digital, né, dentro do jogo. E então, isso que eu acredito que seja o nosso diferencial como servidor, assim.
E eu acredito que isso é muito difícil. Eu falo por mim, que, por exemplo, eu estava acostumada ali a jogar GTA e a gente fazer todas essas barbaridades que a gente está acostumada dentro do jogo, e de repente a gente entra num GTA RP e tem regras. A gente não pode atropelar as pessoas, eu não posso roubar o carro das pessoas. Né? E como que vocês fazem em relação a penalidades com essas pessoas? Acontece muito de entrar, às vezes, o influenciador, principalmente o influenciador, que às vezes a gente chega já para jogar, não lê direito as regras. Não que eu já tenha tomado alguma punição no servidor de GTA, longe de mim. Mas como que vocês fazem, geralmente, quando entra ali um influenciador digital e precisa dar uma penalidade para eles?
Sim, assim, todo o nosso acompanhamento, o board do influenciador para dentro do servidor é feito por alguém, né? A gente conta hoje com mais de 40 pessoas trabalhando diretamente no Cidade Alta, monitorando não só os influenciadores, mas todos os jogadores, coisas assim, corriqueiras que ia acontecer, sem querer atropela alguém, por, enfim, falta de experiência. Isso não é uma coisa que vem sendo punida por nós, né? Mas, assim, coisas do tipo desrespeito já é levado com mais seriedade. Tudo isso, quando isso acontece, a gente tem uma equipe também que vai até o influenciador ou o jogador para conversar com ele, explicar o que ele fez, né? Se é uma coisa muito grave ou leve, a gente tem distinção de banimentos, né, de 1 a 3 dias, ou realmente impossibilitando aquela pessoa de estar jogando no nosso servidor. Mas é muito trabalho, é muita gente envolvida por trás ali e bem distinta, assim, até a gente fala do que a galera enxergava como servidores de GTA, que normalmente era uma pessoa por trás, né, um admin tomando a decisão de tudo, mas não, como a gente acabou crescendo muito, a gente contou hoje com 1.500 pessoas liberadas para jogar e um Discord com 140 mil pessoas interessadas em participar no Cidade Alta, né? Surgiu a necessidade de ter uma equipe muito grande para isso também, né? Sem contar devs e modeladores e tudo mais.
Ah, com certeza. Eu, inclusive, já joguei dentro do Cidade Alta, fiz uma ação dentro do Cidade Alta, né? E eu me lembro que vocês me receberam super bem, foi super bacana. Entrei lá no Discord, sempre tinha gente para ajudar, gente para resolver. Era coisa de job, precisava ali de um pouco de organização, e vocês tinham toda a organização do mundo. Então, realmente, parabéns pelo trabalho de vocês, é fantástico. Eu acho que a gente tem uma pergunta da galera aí, não tem? Ó, sobre a integridade do servidor, que cuidados vocês tomam para poder manter o ambiente agradável? Algumas das coisas você estava falando para mim, mas o que mais vocês fazem?
Assim, o momento mais criterioso para escolher alguém é literalmente na whitelist. Então, assim, mesmo que as pessoas tenham uma indicação, a gente olha isso, valida mesmo se essa pessoa é legal ou não. Nós temos uma entrevista com ela, né, antes dela entrar no servidor, para ver se realmente ela também sabe fazer o RP, se ela não vai atrapalhar isso no RP de outra pessoa, na criação de conteúdo de uma outra pessoa. E, assim, o monitoramento é 24 horas pela equipe, com turnos distintos, onde eles ficam olhando e monitorando as lives. Nós temos um sistema de abertura de ticket, onde existe o reporte também, para estar, assim, não só os admins tomando conta disso, mas a própria comunidade, o próprio ambiente ali das pessoas que integram o Cidade Alta consigam compartilhar e nos ajudar nessa parte de report mesmo, de punição. Esse jogador deve ser punido, aconteceu isso e aquilo, e isso serve também para a gestão de bugs, né? Então, sempre que tem o GTA tem muito disso, você sabe, do nada, assim, um carro, exemplo, explodir ou acontecer aqueles bugs mesmo muito engraçados. A gente tem também uma equipe 24 horas tomando conta desses bugs e dessas situações.
Muito bom. Parece que eu tenho mais uma pergunta aí da galera. Como exatamente funciona o sistema de seleção de influenciadores? Você falou aqui dessa questão do whitelist, mas acontece de, por exemplo, vocês rejeitarem algum influenciador que gostaria de entrar no servidor?
Não existe, assim, na verdade, o rejeitar. Nós não rejeitamos influenciadores por algum motivo ou um jogador. É realmente um cuidado que a gente tem com uma demanda muito grande de pessoas que querem participar, né, do servidor. Então, assim, são formas que nós usamos de administrar o limite do servidor para, assim, nós tentamos tomar ali o controle de 5 mil pessoas liberadas por whitelist por season, né? E não existe isso de rejeitar uma pessoa, não tem, assim, essa decisão feita por nós. É realmente isso, se a pessoa tem um histórico bom, se ela já sabe fazer RP, todas essas coisas são válidas, mas a rejeição em si, ela acaba não acontecendo. A gente já olha um histórico e etc. Enfim, vai muito da indicação também, assim, quando preciso. E a gente acompanha, normalmente essas pessoas já fazem live em outros lugares, então tem um conteúdo para a gente saber se pode aprovar ou não. E a gente tenta fazer esse controle dessa forma.
Muito bom. Muito obrigada, viu, Paulo? Fiquem com a gente. Aliás, desculpa, você quer se despedir? Óbvio, né? Você quer se despedir da galera?
Obrigado você, Nive. Obrigado a todos que estão aqui assistindo a gente do Big Fest. Obrigado, Big Fest, pela oportunidade. E a gente está sempre à disposição aí para o que vocês precisarem.
E para a galera que não conhecia ainda... Ah, ele já foi. Enfim, procure o Discord do Cidade Alta, que é onde você provavelmente vai ter informações sobre eles. Muito obrigada mais uma vez, Paulo. Fiquem com a gente, porque a gente vai ter agora a final da Game Jam. E não esquece também de compartilhar o link do nosso canal e marcar os seus amigos para eles também participarem do Big Digital 2021. Eu sou a Nive Stefan, um beijo e até já.
Hello.
Hello, and welcome to GameJamPlus, the final stage. One of our awards are starting right now. I am, of course, with Sandy, who is an advocate for the game industry in Colombia and Latin America. Hello, Sandy.
Hello, Bruno. And our dear Bruno is an eSports shoutcaster and colorcaster since 2015. He has worked as a caster in several games like Street Fighter, LOL, WoW, among others. And today we are saying, have an awesome GameJamPlus 2020. The games were awesome. And today we're going to show you some of the winners of these categories.
Yeah, we actually have 12 categories that we're going to be awarding tonight. So these categories, we will be saying which they are next, like in the following. But what you have to know that the regions were divided in 5 regions, right? It was Brazil was one of them. Latin America was another one. North America, Europe, and Israel was another one. And coming up next, Africa and Asia. These were our 5 regions.
Let's remember a little bit about the numbers inside the GameJamPlus 2020. First of all, I want to thank all the 1,100 jammers that were part of this Game Jam. They were from 16 cities of 22 countries, participate in 4 of the stage of the Game Jam, and it lasts 7 months. 7 months of hard work doing what they love most, that it is making games. And of course, we have to thank the 700 volunteers that were part of these GameJamPlus. They work as organizers, mentors, judge, and host. And with all that work, we had 2,081 projects as the finished ones. Like, that's a lot!
That was a lot of projects, but 92 of them had the follow-up process, right? They went to the next level, and they had access to lectures, to mentoring, and they had, on these 7 months that Sandy just said, they had a whole lot of process that they went through, and they came here. And now in May, where we are right now, the great moment has come for us to show you who are the grand winners of GameJamPlus 2020.
I hope you are so excited as we are. But so now we have to go to start these awards telling you which game it is the art director category winner. So in this category, the quality and the consistency of the art of the game was evaluated. Points were considered, such as connectivity of the art through the game's proposal, general look of the game, finish and visual polishes, in addition to the fact that the art were connected and contributed to the narrative experience of the game.
Yeah,
now, let's know which is the winner of this category.
I'm hyped up to know who was the grand winner for the art direction category. The winner for best art direction is Super Grappling Gecko, coming from Natal, Brazil. This is a game where you swing over thorns and holes. You find the secrets of a secret, mysterious tree, and you overcome great challenges with a very little brave wizard in his very little big adventure. This game was developed in Brazil, as we said, in Natal, and as you can see, it is a platformer. It does look awesome.
I love the platforms games. I've always been fascinated by these styles of games, but I am really a really bad gamer in platformers. How about you?
Nah, I'm a great platformer, and here you have a hook shot, so you will not fall, right?
My main way to fail this is that I always keep falling in the hole, so that's something that's always going to happen to me. But it is an awesome game, and we celebrate our awesome winner for the best art category.
All right, we can go to the next category, Sandy.
Yes, for the next category, it is... Dun, 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 dun.
It is best web game. The best web game. In this category, we actually evaluated how optimized and suitable for the web the game is in general. The judges have considered the browser support, the fluency, and the speed optimization that you had without losing quality, the responsiveness, and other points were evaluated along the process.
And the winner for this category is GameJamPlus from Rio Grande do Sul, from Brazil. GameJamPlus is a little story game where you have to manage your gems while helping as many people as you can find. In addition to the normal events, the player will also be part of a unique adventure looking for a special treasure. Chan, chan, chan. I love this kind of games, like where you collect things and you make shiny things more shiny.
The game, it does seem a little like really addictive. It's so beautiful when you can mix and match the gems to get bonuses and all that. It is an awesome game.
My inner woman, like old woman inside me, is really happy with this game.
All right.
Okay, so it's time for us to appreciate our next winner. And the next category is for game design.
Yeah.
So In game design, this one takes into account the general function of the game, its rules, and its relationship with the experience of the one who is playing. The judges consider mechanics, diversity, and innovation, game flow, phases, level, progression, and victory conditions, balance, among other topics that were touched inside there. So for game design,
for this complex category, the winner is coming from Uberaba, Brazil, Bright Soul.
Woo!
Bright Soul, it's a puzzle game, right, that talks about liberty and our inner prisons. You have to use your soul to create new paths on your journey. The limitations you have on your path are actually steps for you to achieve the goal you seek. This is actually a pretty deep game.
It's pretty cool. Well,
Yeah.
it reminds me a mechanic of another game, which is called Gris. I don't know if you remember that game. It's a game from Spain, but inside the game, you have to leave like little cells of you that froze there. And as I can see, this is an awesome mechanic that is working very well in this game.
Yeah, you sort of rewind to the past and let yourself be there to help you out and get through all the puzzles that are necessary that you get through in this game. Shall we go for the next one?
We should, surely, yeah.
Let's go for the next category.
Design.
Yeah, we have sound design. On this category, we evaluated the sound quality of the game, and it all has been assessed, right? Part of this evaluation is the entire sound design process, from music to sound effects, ambiences, and all that. All that being developed to achieve a level of immersion and connection from the player with the game.
And the game that have this award is also from Brazil. And this game is one that we already mentioned, and we have to congratulate again, GameJamPlus. Congratulations, team. It's really important how the sound is going to define your game, and that it's something that you should always think about, like how my game is making it more immersive. What do you think about that, Colossus?
Yeah, it is pretty important, the ambience, how the sound catches you, right? Like the music, the tunes, or when you fuse one gem with another and get a chest, or find someone to help in the game. It all adds up to the impressive quality of a game that GameJamPlus has reached.
Yeah, you have to think all the time on your structure of audio, because don't think just in games, like think also in the applications that you create. Today, my sister recognized the sound of Duolingo of someone else, like, oh, this person is practicing a new language. That's pretty awesome for an app.
Yeah, it's a sound signature, right? When it gets that thing, you know who or what app or game started.
And what is going to awake inside you. So very important for our game developers to always think on the sound design. And we have to go for our next category. Yay! So it is narrative, our next category. The judge evaluates the creativity and attractiveness of the story and the narrative that the game presents. It was observed whether the plot remained cohesive, during gameplay and whether the narrative was able to hold attention and cause curiosity to those who were playing. And the winner is...
The winner in the best narrative category is coming from Manaus, Brazil, Do Not Disturb. Do Not Disturb is actually a 2D horror game, and it takes place in scenarios based on locations in the city of Manaus. These locations are famous for having reports of supernatural apparitions, and the game focuses on its narrative, centered on creatures from urban legends and myths from the region. The games that we are having today are such amazing games, and it is clear, right? When you see how much effort that the teams put on it, the art quality, the sound quality, the narrative quality are really on another level, right?
And what we have to agree on is that when you tell the story, you are also like giving soul of that story. So keep like in mind that all the stories that you're telling through your games is going to spread through the world, and you have a lot of tales to tell.
Yeah, well, telling about tales to tell, let's go right into our next category, which is best mobile game. In this category, we evaluated how optimized and suitable for the mobile platform the game is in general. We evaluated the available screen space, responsiveness, the limitation of physical space that mobile devices sometimes have, the cohesion of game genre with the chosen platform, and several other points that were taken into account.
Okay, so for today best mobile game, our winner is GameJamPlus.
Again?
This is so awesome that this team is like winning all these categories. It just means that they have been working really hard on their game, and as you can see, it's really finished. I really hope that in this big festival they have a publisher for this game.
As we already saw, the GameJamPlus today won the best web game, best sound design, and now wins the best mobile game. It is an awesome game, and I'm with you on that one, Sandy.
Okay. So for our next category, we have best education game. Here, the judges were thinking about the best game that has been chosen. It's like the one that presents explicitly cultural or educational content. That is, that teaches, instructs, or tells a story in a playful and educational way. Games that can teach directly or indirectly. And the winner is...
Coming from Brazil, from Rio de Janeiro, Tecnotupan. The envoyed by Tupã must empower his god through altars to suppress chaos caused by Anhangá. This is a room-based roguelike game where the player must explore the sacred temples and defeat enemies to find energy shrines that re-establishes the connection between different sacred indigenous gods and their people. Be careful though, for every shrine the hero sets free, a curse is set to empower your enemies. The hero needs to activate at least 3 out of 5 energy shrines to complete the temple before entering the next area.
Good. I really love this game, and what I have to say about it is that it is an awesome art, it is an awesome gameplay, and of course it is giving you the narrative so that we were talking about. Like, it is really important that we recognize the importance of our cultural heritage.
Yeah, it is. It is a pretty heavy on heritage game right there, because it talks a lot about the indigenous culture and heritage. So
yeah, like how can we address to our cultural heritage? Like, what is the meaning to be from our countries? What is the meaning to be ourselves? I am like really poet tonight.
Yeah, so shall we go to the next category, Sandy?
Yes, in the next category, we have 2 winners.
Oh, spoilers already. Let's go for the next category is social impacts, i.e. games for change.
Well, I do believe that we have to give you a little bit of intel about what is games for change. So it was founded in 2004. Games for Change empowers games creators and social innovators to drive real-world changes using games and immersive media. It is a movement and an international non-governmental organization dedicated to the use of electronic games for social development. Games that address subjects such as physical or intellectual accessibility were classified in this category. Defense of the planet and the environment, address local stories and public environments. Games that tell stories of people who have made a difference in society. Games about animal rights and protection. Games that can change the world. I do believe so.
It is. And 2 winners, as you said, Sandy, they are Have a Good One, that comes from Portugal, and from Brazil, coming from Natal, Darkest Hour. Okay, let's start with Have a Good One, right? This is a game with easy and accessible mechanics. You basically play with the left and right arrow, where you move the bike back and forth, and you interact with the left or right space, right? Whether you click with the space, you interact. It is a pretty simple game. You go around, you help people, you deliver mail to them, and you have a good one.
Game is Darkest Hour. In Darkest Hour, you'll find yourself in an alumni meeting of your class at your old school gym. However, after an unexpected blackout, you are stuck in a school that will try to face the adversities you encounter and the haunt that surrounds the school. Will you be able to escape? Game based on a local urban legend in my city in which a girl died inside a school, and when it was 6 p.m., her ghost appeared to haunt people inside the school, but nobody knows how she died nor why she haunts people who find her way to her.
Another
scary myth
horror game.
I love these kind of like horror stories, but the truth is that if I watch them alone, I won't be able to sleep.
Yeah, when it resounds with you, right? Because especially with if you're from the city that this urban legend is, you will just freak out playing a game like this. Just totally and utterly freak out.
I already freak out and I haven't played. I'm going to have nightmares now. But we have to go for our next category, diversity. Chan, chan, chan.
Yeah, on the diversity game category, it is a game that brings themes or characters that increase or improve the representation of minorities, such as women, Black or brown people, indigenous people, and people from the LGBTQA community, among others, right? How the game approaches the theme of diversity included in the game talks and settling its mechanics and all that.
Okay, I have to tell you that we have 2 winners again. So
okay,
for the winners, we have Amazon Cries for Freedom from Brazil, Patos de Minas, and Anaí, also from Brazil, in this case from Caruaru. Sorry. So, Amazon Cries for Freedom is an indigenous Amazon village is invaded by a corrupt land grabbers who aim to remove the natives from their land from commercial interests. Suppress their middle of the right. The Indians were captured, some killed by the corrupt. The militia leader has the young shaman Kalduana arrested, an adventure hero. He must escape from captivity and lead his tribe to fight against these corrupt people. A fight for freedom, a dive into the indigenous culture in Brazil. You will know more about these values and connection with Mother Earth and the Amazon.
It does look awesome. But and let's go for the next one, shall we? The other one is Amazon Cries for Freedom. We had the games backwards, but it's okay. I was playing the
Anaí.
I was playing Anaí that you said you saw first. This that you were watching is Amazon Cries for Freedom. Anaí is a game from an Amazon girl from the Guarani tribe in the northern Brazil, who had a brotherhood, Icamiaba, cursed with a terrible plague. And it's in search of justice of her brotherhood. Anaí discovers through Anhangá, the god who protects animals, but it does actually represents a bad omen when this god appears. So those that are responsible for this plague were 7 children of the entities Tau and Kerana. And I'm doubled right now. So let's go for the next game, Best Pitch. Let's go for the Best Pitch category. And on this category, the judges assessed the group's ability to transmit and inform about its game in the best possible way. In addition to its ability to present, convince and sell its product to potential investors. It was observed whether the pitch was presented, and it did present the necessary information for a professional level pitch, and in addition to overall quality of the presentation itself, like video, audio, and editing of the final project. So I'm not sure if Sandy is here or not, but regardless of that, we will be coming to the game winner, who is from Malaysia, Felines.
I came back.
Okay, so you came back just in time to watch me talk about Felines, which is an Android mobile game developed by SAD students. Felines was previously known as Project Swipecaster, which represents as the team submission for GameJamPlus second stage finals. Here, you play as Grandcaster and lead a team of felines to connect the cities through battling and then defeating an ever-growing problem of vermin and mice, while amassing a team of talented casters along the way. Are you back? Are you holding on?
I'm alive. Stay alive. Sorry about that. Did you die a little bit? Sandy, where are you?
I was like, wait, there's two me. It was like talking to myself literally for a second there. But you're back. It's okay. Let's go to the next category.
The next category is chan chan chan. Best gameplay.
Yep. Best gameplay.
So for this category, the gameplay category that just evaluated mechanics and the controls, being if they're intuitive or innovative, and how the act of the fluidity of the gameplay, like it is your game soft in the gameplay. Implementation of visual and sound feedbacks, general player experience with narrative, game flow, among others. So it is practically a really good game, the one that we're going to hear today.
Yeah, the winner is from São Paulo, Brazil, Tacapi. In Tacape, you follow Lorena's journey, who, after having her little brother taken by a mysterious creature, needs to venture into forests and face several folk figures. Tacape is a deck builder card game with roguelike elements for those who love a tactical challenge. You participate in a series of strategic battles and build your deck with many cards and face folk creatures along the way. In Tacape, fear and courage goes toe to toe, hand in hand. It's up to you to decide which of the two is stronger. I would like to add here, Sandy, that the pitch is the way you sell the game, right?
Yeah.
And it's also important and great to see how mature the games and the companies behind them, I can say companies, right? The jammers behind them had, how can I say, maturity in the pitch.
Like develop in the pitch, like how they can express themselves.
I just hate my microphone, but it's okay. I'm sorry about that. Coming back to, yeah, I love to see how developed the pitch is and how mature the jammers and the company itself is.
It's really important to know how are you going to sell your game. You're right.
Yeah.
Maybe you are selling a really small game of cards, but if your pitch make it sound like a pretty epic game, we're going to love it.
Yep. That is. And also it's worth mentioning before we go into the next category, that the team, the judges that evaluated the games was a pretty, how can I say, eclectic board, I can say it like that. The judges were from 10 different countries, right?
Okay.
And the organizers were, how can I say, the spots that chose who would be the judges from the play. Like they pointed and chose who would be the judges from each side, right? So it's 10 judges all around the world, and they were pretty diverse from a lot of regions and different places and spots.
That's really awesome. And it just means that this event is pretty serious, people.
Yep.
So we have to now go for the winner games for each regions that were part of our GameJamPlus. So we're going to start in Brazil.
All right, so let's start in the best game from Brazil. This year was a very happy year for GameJamPlus and for the community itself, because it is right now the 5th edition of GameJamPlus, and we were in over 30 cities in the country, covering from south to north from Brazil, right? North, northwest, midwest, southeast, and south. All around Brazil, we had spots where the jammers were doing their thing, their jam. So we had very good games, and it was really a tough decision. And there were several games that were submitted, but of course, only one, sometimes two, but only one here gets to win the best game from Brazil.
So in this case, the best game winner is Do Not Disturb. He already won Best Narrative. So congratulations, Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, Do Not Disturb is the horror game that we saw.
Do Not Disturb is a 2D horror game that takes place in scenarios based on locations in the city of Manaus, which are famous for having reports about supernatural appearance. The game focuses on its narrative centered on creatures from urban legends and myths of the region. I love to know more about Manaus, and I know that playing this game will teach me even more.
Yeah, the developers the members were from Manaus, from Brazil, right? And they were Anabelle Cristine, Bruna de Paula, Davi Benier, Everton Borges, Isabelle Rohana, Juliana Rodrigues, Liliane Castro, Lina Pepe, Lucas Passos e Paulo Sérgio. Congratulations.
We're an awesome team.
Yeah, it was awesome. So let's go for our next region, shall we?
Let's next region is Latin America. Yay!
From Brazil to Latam. Let's go.
Yay. This year, our Latin American brothers participate in the GameJamPlus 2020 with incredible games. The venues this year were Mexico, San Jose, La Paz, Cochabamba, and Santiago from Chile. And for the next edition, we want more and more headquarters. So if you are interested in being part of this GameJamPlus, come and talk to us. We are growing so much. Come. And, well, several games were submitted, but only one will be the champion, Chan, for the best game in Latam. And the best game is...
The winner from Latam is TerraGenesis. So TerraGenesis is a game where you try to escape from the depths of an infested scientific installation. It's a 2D side-scroller shooter, and it looks like an awesome one.
Yay! It's I Want to Break Free theme. It was from La Paz, Bolivia. The diversifier that was used here was the meta language, and it has an endless cycle. The team were of four. We have Juan Carlos and Felipe Porcel in the programming team. In the music and sound effects, it was Manuel Surroco, and art and animation, Leonardo Maella. Yay!
Yeah, this game just look awesome. I'm a huge fan of 2D side-scrolling games, so this one it just hits my heart. You know, this one just hits my heart.
Don't go breaking my heart.
So
okay. Let's go for North America, Europe, and Israel.
All right, let's go further on our next category, which comes from these three countries. The best category of best continental game, we decided to bring together these three regions, right? Because North America, Europe, and Israel are big, as we have not yet had enough headquarters on these specific countries to make these three regions independent. So taking this opportunity, we invite you, a local organizer, to join us. Come and be a part of this global movement to promote the game dev ecosystem.
Come.
We would like to thank you very much here. I do believe that the most participative of all organizers is Antonio Durão, who is organizer from Portugal. Figueira de Foz is the city. Thank you, Antonio, for believing in this global movement and for all your dedication to the game dev community.
Thank you, Antonio.
Okay. But Sandy, we have to get down to business. Okay, let's go.
I'm ready.
For the best game in this category.
Okay, so the best game for North America, Europe, and Israel is Midnight Clipper. Missions are designed to encourage replayability. The player starts out as an email postal delivery employee for the mega corporation. At this point, the player could happily continue playing day in and day out, completely endless, randomly generated deliveries to earn money. However, you'll soon discover the only way to make a change is to break the game rules. Only then you will earn enough respect with the underground rallier to make a change and break free from an oppressive monopoly. Chan.
So this is a recurring theme, right? The I want to break free theme. We had this on several games already, and it is a pretty powerful theme looking on our today's pandemic world, right?
Yeah.
Because we can't just stay home and be safe. Anyways, let's go for our next category.
But wait. This game was made in Salt Lake City in the USA. We have to congratulate Rob, Austin, Mitch, and Bree for the game. Yay!
Yeah. I'm sorry. I totally went over that. Congratulations for you three. Four, actually. Rob, Austin, Mitch, and Bree for this awesome game. So let's go. Let's go for our next region, which is Africa. Let's go. We at GameJamPlus have a great affection for the organization and commitment of the organizers from the African continent. In particular to one of our local organizers. I'm sorry if I say your name wrong, but Tutaleni from Namibia. A big hug for you, Tuta. This year, the headquarters in Africa were Abuja, which is the capital of Nigeria, Lusaka from Zambia, Windhoek, which is the Namibian capital, Soweto and Durban from South Africa, and Antananarivo, which is the capital of Madagascar. These were the cities that were in Africa, and we have several incredible games that we have played so far. Okay, so several games were submitted, of course, but once again, here only one can be the champion.
For this region, the game winner is Hasinala on a Journey. Hasinala is a game on the local urban legends. It's about a boy who encounters his own way some famous characters from Madagascar, legends who were awakened from the pollution and destruction of the nature. It is composed of mini games, a platform, a point and click, and a survival, and a lot of dialogues. Yay!
It is a pretty awesome and complex game, and it was developed in Madagascar, which was honored on Sunday's Lives, right, for bringing several new jammers. The team members for this project, for this game, was Anna, Andri, Irshad, Maharo, Mahefa, Mahiri, and Mirado. I don't know if I'm saying your names wrong or right, but I'm sorry. We have a couple more names to get through, so let's go. Anta, Heri, and Vero. These were the game devs that worked in these specific games. The theme was local urban legends, which also is a recurring theme here in GameJamPlus.
Yes, and we are showing a lot of local stories, and that's the best way to tell the others a little bit of your cultural heritage and a little bit of yourself. I want to know if some of these stories really happen to someone.
Yeah, urban myths, urban legends.
Yeah,
something about it happened.
Different, like when you hear like the myth of Patasola, but someone that really happened to have an encounter with this spirit is like, what? I'm not going to sleep tonight, people.
All right, let's go for our next region, shall we?
Yes. So our next region is going to be Asia. Woo! Well, we at the GameJamPlus have a great affection for the organization and commitment of the organizers of the African content, in particular, one of our local organizers, Lahiru Rajapaksa from Sri Lanka, Dale from the Philippines, and Tanu, one of the organizers from India. Big hug to Lahiru, Dale, and Tanu for their job and their commitment. This year, the headquarters in Asia were India, Singapore, Manila, Indonesia, with a lot of cities there, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, several cities too there. And we have several incredible games that have played so far. Several games submitted by Asia teams, yay, jammers, but only one will be the champion for tonight. And our champion is going to be Chan Chan Chan.
Felines. Felines once again. This was the game that I was talking about when you reconnected.
I'm now thinking of the Urban Legends. Oh my God. Like Patasola, disconnect me. No, I love this game. It's so pretty.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that because this game has one thing that you love a lot, because I know we were talking off stage. This game has a lot of catsters, which are cats that cast spells. You connect and go through the stages. It was also known as Project Swipecaster, as we said earlier, right? And you play to be the Grandcaster and lead a team of felines to connect the cities through battling and defeating the ever-growing mice army.
So pretty. Wow, all the games that were submitted to the GameJamPlus are pretty awesome. Like, thank you to all the jammers. Let's remember the numbers of the GameJamPlus 2020. In this occasion, we have 1,100 jammers from 16 cities of 22 countries. That's a lot of people that participate in the 4 stages of the Game Jam. We have, it lasts 7 months, and we have the work of 700 volunteers as organizers, mentor, judge, host, a lot of people that it is behind, trying to help you make the best games that you can. And that work, that awesome work, make that we have for this moment 281 games. That is a really big number.
It is. From those 281 came 92 projects that came through to this phase. These were the 92 finalists. We gave you some of the awards, but the grand winner is not going to be announced today, right, Sandy? Not today. We're not going to give it to you that easily.
I know we are really evil ones. It is true. But you have to be connected to this big festival, and we have to thank to all the big festival team to let us be part of this big event. Let's remember that the big festival is one of the biggest festival, biggest festival of Latin America that talks about indie game dev industry. So it is a really big deal to be part of this event. And we have to thank to all the jammers, all our volunteers, and all the people that is here connected and enjoying the games that were presented. Remember that today we're not showing you who is the game of the year. Remember that it is going to be tomorrow. At what time are we going to have this?
The time market, set an alarm. so that you can be warned when we will go live. This year, tomorrow, the May the 6th, it's going to be at 9:15 in Brazilian time. And it is 7:15 for you, right, Sandy?
Yes, in Colombia, Peru, and Mexico will have the same time in this time of the year. So it's going to be in 7:15 p.m. Tomorrow, you're going to be able to see the game of the year of this GameJamPlus 2020. Wow.
Yes. We would like to congratulate once again every single one of the projects of the games that came into this phase and that made it through all the process of this long 7 months of game development and of this whole experience. We would like to send a huge thank you for all the supporters, all the sponsors, every single one that have helped made this GameJamPlus what it is right now. We are actually coming to an end of today's broadcast, of today's award. The stream will keep on, and tomorrow you have a meeting. It is set on your calendar. Don't miss it. Okay?
Keep on streaming, keep on being inside the big festival. They have a lot of events and a lot of content for you if you love the games and if you want to be part of the game developer community. This is a place where you have to start. I'm really glad that you were my partner in crime in this case, my dearest Bruno. And thank you all for this opportunity. Let's meet next year to know what's going to happen for the next GameJamPlus. And remember, you have to remember that if you want to be an organizer, please just get in touch with us. We're going to make this year's event even bigger. We want to connect with other countries. If you want to be, or if you are a part of other city, come here. Let's talk and let's make games.
All right, it was a great pleasure being alongside you, Sandy, getting to know you, but we have to go. So goodbye and good luck for all the games, and maybe see you next year.
Yeah.